Lawsuits. Law number 236. Judgment must be rendered in the case of injury caused by a person. Exodus 21:18-25. And if men quarrel and one hits the other with a stone or with his fist or a tool, and he does not die but is confined to bed, if the other gets up and walks around outside with his staff, the one who struck the blow will not be held responsible. However, he must pay the injured man for the loss of his time and see that he is completely healed. Or if a man beats his servant or his maidservant with a rod and the slave dies as a direct result, he must surely be punished. However, if he is not to be punished if the slave gets up after a day or two, since the slave is his property. If men fight and hurt a woman with child so that she gives birth prematurely, but there is no serious injury, the offender must be fined whatever the woman's husband demands and the court allows. But if there is serious injury, you are to take life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. Law number 237. Judgment must be rendered in the case of injury caused by an animal. Exodus 21:28-29. If a bull gores a man or a woman to death, then the bull shall surely be stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten. But the owner of the bull will not be held responsible. But if the bull tended to thrust out with its horns, and this was made known to its owner, and he has not kept it pinned up, so that it has killed a man or a woman, the bull shall be stoned, and its owner also shall be put to death. Law number 238. Judgment must be rendered in the case of injury caused to an animal. Exodus 21:33-34. And if a man uncovers the pit or digs a pit and fails to cover it, and an ox or a donkey falls into it, the owner of the pit must pay for the loss. He must pay its owner, and the dead animal will be his. Law number 239. A thief must make full restitution or else be sold for his theft. Exodus 22:1-4. If a man steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it, he shall pay back 5 head of oxen for the ox and 4 sheep for the sheep. If the thief is found breaking in and he is struck so that he dies, the defender is not guilty for his bloodshed. But if he strikes him after sunrise, he is guilty of bloodshed. A thief must make full restitution, but if he has nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. If the theft is found alive in his possession, whether it is an ox, donkey, or sheep, he shall pay back double. Law number 240. Judgment must be rendered in cases of property damage caused by animals. Exodus 22:5. If a man causes a field or vineyard to be grazed and lets loose his animals and they feed in another man's field, he shall make restitution from the best of his own field and the best of his own vineyard. Law number 241. Judgment must be rendered in cases of fire damage. Exodus 22:6. If a fire breaks out and catches in thorn bushes so that it burns standing grain or a field, he who kindled the fire shall surely make restitution. Law number 242. Judgment must be rendered in cases involving items held for safekeeping. Exodus 22:7-8. If a man gives his brother silver or possessions for safekeeping, and they are stolen from the brother's house, the thief, if he is caught, must pay back double. But if the thief is not found, then the owner of the house must appear in front of the judges to determine whether he has laid his hands on the other man's property. Law number 243. Judgment must be rendered in cases involving animals held for safekeeping. Exodus 22:10-13. If a man gives a donkey, an ox, a sheep, or any other animal to his brother for safekeeping, and it dies or is injured or is driven away while no one is looking, the issue between them will be settled by an oath of Yahweh that the brother did not lay hands on the other person's property, and the owner is to accept this, and no restitution is required. But if the animal was stolen from the brother, he must make restitution to the owner. If it was torn to pieces by a wild animal, he shall bring in the remains as evidence, and he will not be required to pay for the torn animal. Law number 244. Judgment must be rendered in cases of claims against a borrower. Exodus 22:14-15. And if a man borrows an animal from his brother and it is injured or dies while the owner is not present, he must make restitution. But if the owner is with the animal, the borrower will not have to pay. If the animal was hired, the money paid for the hire covers the loss. Law number 245. Judgment must be rendered in disputes arising out of sales. Leviticus 25:14-17. And if you sell anything to your brother or buy from your brother's hand, you shall not oppress one another. You are to buy from your brother on the basis of the number of years since the Jubilee, and he is to sell to you on the basis of the number of years left for harvesting crops. When the years are many, you are to increase the price, and when the years are few, you are to decrease the price, because what he is really selling you is the number of crops. Do not take advantage of each other, thereby reverencing your Father, for I am Yahweh, your heavenly Father. Law number 246. Judgment must be rendered in disputes over possessions of property. Exodus 22, verse 9. In all cases of illegal possession of an ox, a donkey, a sheep, a garment, or any other lost property which another claims to be his, both parties are to bring their cases in front of the judges. The one whom the judges declare guilty must pay back double to his brother. Law number 247. Monetary restitution must be paid in cases involving bodily damage. Deuteronomy 25, 11 to 12. If two men are fighting and the wife of one of them comes to rescue her husband from the one attacking him, and she reaches out and seizes him by his genitals, you shall cut off her hand, show her no pity. Exodus 21, 23 to 25. But if there is serious injury, you are to take life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. Law number 248. Judgment must be rendered in disputes arising out of inheritance. Numbers 27, 8 to 11. And you shall speak to the children of Israel and say, if a man dies and has no son, then you shall cause his inheritance to pass to his daughter. If he has no daughter, then you shall give his inheritance to his brothers. If he has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to his father's brothers. And if his father has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to the nearest kinsman in his clan, and he shall possess it. And this shall be to the children of Israel a statute of judgment, just as Yahweh commanded Moshe. Deuteronomy 21, 15 to 17. If a man has two wives, one loved more and the other loved less, and they both bear him sons, but the firstborn is the son of the wife he loves less, when he wills his property to his sons, he must not give the rights of the firstborn to the son of the wife he loves more, in preference to his actual firstborn, the son of the wife he loves less. He must acknowledge the son of his less loved wife as the firstborn by giving him a double portion of all he has. That son is the first sign of his father's strength. The right of the firstborn belongs to him. This concludes the 248 positive commandments.